Raiders, the valiant warriors who hunt demons, acquire precious treasures, and defend humanity, embody the epitome of heroism. Though their endeavors may be perilous, society reveres them as champions, yet their remarkable pursuits also evoke envy among others. The life of a raider is a thrilling vocation that ignites passion and fascination, however. Little is known about the fleeting moment that quickens a raider's heartbeat the most, just before their imminent demise. This guy is young woman, a diligent individual employed by the esteemed raider agency. His primary responsibility revolves around connecting skilled individuals, such as Min Jae-in, who are not affiliated with a guild, with suitable job opportunities. Because of that, when young woman finally reached out to him, Min Jae-in's confidence surged as he firmly believed that a promising job awaited him without a doubt. However, his emotions quickly shifted to anger upon learning the nature of the job assigned to him. The raider agency demanded that Min Jae-in stand at the forefront, wielding a shield, in a treacherous dungeon infested with undead creatures. Essentially, they were asking him to serve as a disposable meat shield that is easily discarded. When faced with danger, Min Jae-in turned to young woman and inquired if this was truly the only available job for him. He couldn't help but notice that even those ranked lower than him had found assignments. In response, young woman explained that despite Min Jae-in's high rank, there aren't a lot of requests for raiders from the martial arts class. As a result, Min Jae-in couldn't shake off the feeling of being underestimated solely because of his martial arts class raider. Adding to the reality of the situation, young woman agreed to Min Jae-in's observation, stating that the demand for magic users had surged lately. Not only that, the martial arts raiders are much slower in completing missions, but they also faced a higher risk of sustaining injuries, an aspect employers were keen on avoiding, such as the harsh reality when it comes to battling monsters. Mages strategically position themselves at the rear, while martial art raiders are left to confront the danger head-on, resulting in a higher likelihood of injuries. In the midst of combat, it was undeniable that mages possessed a distinct advantage. Min Jae-in was well aware of that. Perhaps the dynamics were different a decade ago, but in the present, it seemed there was no longer a rightful place for martial arts raiders. Because of this, Min Jae-in couldn't help but harbor a lingering regret over the choice he made 11 years ago. It was during his third year of high school, when he received exceptional results in the Awaken Aptitude evaluation. With an astonishing 97% in Magic Aptitude, even one of the top mages, Seoina, could only boast a 92% aptitude. In comparison, Min Jae-in's achievements seemed almost unbelievable. On the other hand, his aptitude for martial arts was a mere 34%. But in the end he still chose the martial arts class. It wasn't due to any profound reason, but just because the impression of the people for the mages back then, or worst, mages back then were primarily relegated to supporting roles, unable to fight low-ranking monsters without the assistance of martial arts raiders. However, the tides have since turned, with martial arts classes witnessing a decline, while mages are highly desired. Min Jae-in couldn't help but wonder if his life would have been better if he had chosen to become a mage 11 years ago. Usually, a raider's growth stops once they reach the age of 20. However, dwelling on regret serves no purpose now, as the past cannot be altered. Young woman expressed to Min Jae-in that opportunities like the one at hand were rare occurrences. Initially, young woman had intended to assign this particular mission to someone else. However, upon careful consideration, he couldn't help but think of Min Jae-in and decided to approach him first. Min Jae-in's talent was once the envy of those who aspired to become mages. However, now he finds himself relegated to the role of an insignificant D-rank martial arts raider. The reality of his present situation wasn't even a fraction of the grand vision he wants for himself. Realizing that he had no other options from the outset, Min Jae-in agreed to undertake the mission request. In this unforgiving industry, survival often requires venturing beyond the realm of safe and comfortable assignments. Jae-in understood that he couldn't always choose the safer jobs if he hoped to thrive in this line of work. Woman's smile widened upon hearing Jae-in's words, and he assured him that he had made the right decision. He informed Jae-in that they would meet the following day at 8 a.m. at the address he had sent him. However, Jaein couldn't understand why women would personally show up. When he seemed busy with his work at the agency, Yeon Woomin reassured him, stating that he had his own business to attend to at the location as well. The next day arrived, but Woomin was conspicuously absent. Despite being the one who had promised to meet Jaein, thoughts swirled in Jaein's mind, questioning why Woomin hadn't simply informed him that he wouldn't be able to make it. The realization struck Jaein that perhaps it would have been more advantageous for Woomin if he were in charge of someone more capable and skilled than himself. As a mere D-rank martial arts raider at best, Jaein couldn't help but feel puzzled about Woomin's decision to work solely at the raider agency. Especially considering his remarkable A-rank Mage, Jaein couldn't fathom why someone with such immense talent would choose to remain in the agency instead of joining any guild of his choice. To him, it seemed like Woomin was wasting his potential by staying in a place that didn't fully utilize his abilities. If Jaein were in Woomin's position, he would have undoubtedly sought out a more promising opportunity. Lost in his thoughts, Jaein was suddenly interrupted by the call of someone he was acquainted with. It was Manhwa, another martial arts class raider who doesn't have work lately, leading him to join forces for this dangerous raid. Manhwa explained that opportunities for martial arts raiders were scarce. Other than this kind of raids, there is no other place for them. Manhwa then said to him that people these days doesn't know a thing, emphasizing how cool it was compared to mages, who simply launched fireballs from the safety of the rear. However, in reality, they were about to face the harsh consequence of being unable to secure enough jobs to sustain themselves. Manhwa turned to Jaein and suggested that they give their all during the raid, promising to treat him to a good drink once they were done. However, Jaein hesitated, admitting that he didn't have the money to cover his share, even though Manhwa had paid the bills the last time. Seeing Jaein's gloomy expression, Manhwa made up his mind and decided to cover the expenses once again. A smile finally graced Jaein's face as he expressed his genuine remorse for constantly relying on Manhwa's generosity. As their conversation unfolded, a raider agent urgently directing their attention to gather at the dungeon entrance. The agent informed them that they would be entering the dungeon within the next 30 minutes. With this announcement, a sense of urgency filled the air, prompting the raiders to swiftly prepare themselves for the upcoming expedition. When a raider ventured into the depths of the dungeon, they must pay attention on two critical aspects. Firstly, they needed to be cautious when unexpected strokes of luck befell them. Such occurrences could trigger a rush of excitement, leading them to let down their guard. The dungeons are cunning and would then test their ability to think rationally, posing a challenge to discern whether their newfound fortune was truly a stroke of incredible luck, or a worse tragedy disguised as luck. Breaking the silence, Manhwa interrupted Jaein, who had once again become lost in his thoughts, by inquiring about the contents of his phone. Manhwa jokingly speculated that Jaein was probably gazing at his girlfriend's picture, as he often did before entering a dungeon. Little did Manhwa know that, in reality, Jaein was always gazing at a picture of his mother, seeking strength and reassurance before embarking on a raid. As the raiders made their way inside the dungeon, a horde of menacing monsters charged towards them. In the midst of the chaos, a mage from the rear urgently commanded the raiders to raise their shields and maintain formation. The voice carried a grave warning, emphasizing that even if it meant facing certain death, they must stay to the formation. Overwhelmed by the sheer number of monsters closing in, Jaein felt his resolve waver. The burden seemed unbearable. But just as despair began to settle in, powerful fireballs erupted from the magic wielded by the mage's position at the rear. The fiery projectiles surged forward, striking the monsters directly in front of the vanguard, obliterating them in a brilliant display of magical might. Witnessing this awe-inspiring sight, Jaein's spirit rekindled, knowing that they had formidable allies backing them up, and that victory was still within reach. The mages who unleashed their fiery onslaught were members of the Meteor Guild, a relatively new but highly esteemed mage guild known for their immense power. Their reputation had been on a steady ascent, and their presence in the raid filled Jaein with a sense of reassurance. As they rested somewhere within the dungeon, Manhwa shared with Jaein his belief that the last one that is left is the boss room. Overwhelmed by a sense of weariness, Manhwa expressed regret about the toll aging had taken on him. He regrets not taking things more seriously in his youth, realizing that if he had known what awaited him, he would have dedicated himself to leveling up instead of fooling around. Jaein responded, assuring Manhwa that he still appeared to have abundant energy and a higher level compared to himself. Manhwa then asked Jaein if he had obtained any valuable items, noting that the item drops in this rank dungeon seemed promising. Uncertain, Jaein decided to check his inventory window to see if he had indeed acquired any item drops. However, as Jaein attempted to open his status window, he encountered an unexpected issue. To his surprise, he found that he couldn't access his status window, and a notification appeared, informing him that the Aesir system was temporarily down and disconnecting him. Even more perplexing, the notification revealed that the system had failed to reboot. Without any explanation for the cause of this malfunction, Jaein was left astounded, struggling to comprehend the implications of the system's failure to reboot. In the midst of his confusion, a mysterious voice echoed, urging him to follow the light. Simultaneously, a system notification appeared, revealing that an unknown entity had infiltrated the system, causing it to attempt a restoration in safe mode. Despite these efforts, the system's restoration still proved unsuccessful. Observing Jaein's uneasiness, Manhwa asked about his well-being. Jaein hesitated for a moment before responding, sharing his experience of someone instructing him to follow the light. To his astonishment, he noticed ethereal lights floating around, prompting him to question whether these were the very lights he was meant to follow. Concerned by Jaein's weird behavior, Manhwa asked if he was feeling unwell. Jaein reassured him, saying he was fine, but couldn't help but deduce that he might be the only one capable of seeing the mysterious lights. Driven by curiosity, Jaein made the decision to investigate further. Even though he remained perplexed about the inexplicable events unfolding before him, Jaein persisted in following the mysterious lights. While attempting to access his inaccessible status window, frustratingly, the system remained unresponsive, notifying him of partial damage to its features. Jaein couldn't comprehend what was happening. Throughout his 17 years as an awakened, the system had never experienced downtime, damage, or the need for a reboot. Puzzled, he contemplated the possibility that the voice he heard earlier might somehow be connected to the system's unexpected shutdown. Amidst an invasion of an unknown foreign and the system being down, a mysterious voice passes on a message to follow the light. Something might be changing in the system. The Aesir system is what the Asgardian gods, including Thor and Odin, are referred to as. This system is believed to have originated from Aesir, stands as the last beacon of hope and defense for humankind who find themselves on the brink of despair. On this day, 20 years ago, the year 2011 was called the Year of Disaster. In the middle of the Pacific Ocean, at an unfathomable altitude, a colossal tree sprouted. Within a mere 9 days, it soared to great heights and covering the skies. Some deemed it a harbinger of the world's demise, while others hailed it as a benevolent tree of blessings. However, the true name of this tree is Yggdrasil, the legendary world tree from mythology. As the tree reached its full stature on the 9th day, a series of tragedies unfolded. The entire world bore witness to an unparalleled large-scale catastrophe known as the monster invasion. Half of humanity perished at the hands of these creatures, and of the remaining survivors, half succumbed to famine and curse. However, despite in the prevailing despair, a glimmer of hope emerged for humankind. The first awaken, a human endowed with divine power, has appeared. Those who have awakened and dedicate themselves to hunting down monsters are known as raiders. The Aesir system stands as the most formidable weapon in the arsenal of humanity's heroes. However, Jaein couldn't help but wonder if the Aesir system was undergoing changes. It was difficult to believe that everything would proceed smoothly. As Jaein wandered lost in his thoughts during his walk, he unexpectedly stumbled upon a huge and mysterious door. But he quickly realized that it was the entrance to a treasure gate. The treasure gates are secret chambers that conceal valuable treasures within, exhibiting an exceedingly low probability of appearing in high-level dungeons. A treasure gate item can fetch hundreds of millions of won at the very least. In Jaein's mind, Obtaining an A rank or higher equipment could be his ticket to escape from his boring life. Without hesitation, as Jaein opened the doors, he couldn't help but pray for an A rank or higher equipment. The existence of such a place within a dungeon surpassed his expectations, proving that what he had seen on TV was not merely an urban legend. After a brief search, his eyes immediately fixated on an item positioned prominently in the center of the room. Thinking that's the item he was hoping for, with an exhilarated smile, Jaein eagerly approached the location of the item, curious to discover the hidden treasure within. As he reached the item, the system promptly notified him that he had successfully restored a damaged feature of the system, and as a reward, he had obtained a new piece of equipment. The system then asked if he wished to check the details of the item. In Jaein's mind, everything was unfolding precisely according to his plan. Even the system made a timely return. Jaein mused that perhaps good fortune does indeed come all at once. To his astonishment, he received an item called Odin's Lost Eye, a mythical ranked artifact. This eye once belonged to Odin, the mightiest god of the Aesir. This item has an active skill called Absolute Calculation, which you can be able to calculate the magic and destroy it. With absolute understanding of rune magic, the user can cast chantless spells. And the best part is the user can copy any skill from an opponent. He could hardly believe what he was witnessing at that moment. In auctions, the highest ranking item is the S rank, which quickly surpasses hundreds of millions of won as soon as it becomes available. As for magic-related items, their value is virtually immeasurable, and thus you can name your price on this kind of items. However, Jaein got his hands on a mythic gray, being the only copy known to exist in the world. In Jaein's mind, he realized that he wouldn't have to work tirelessly anymore. He wouldn't be looked down upon by other guilds, or relegated to being a mere meat shield in dungeons. The prospect of leaving behind his monotonous life as a raider filled him with a sense of relief and anticipation. Since he had obtained this item, Jaein thought it might be worth trying it on. After all, when else would he have the opportunity to experience the power of a mythical item? It should be fine to give it a try just once before deciding whether to sell it. However, to his surprise, a notification from the system popped up stating that once equipped, the Odin's Lost Eye would become permanently bound to him. Thankfully, he was able to cancel the equipping process just in time. He had nearly wasted a mythical item that rarely came into his possession. There was no compelling reason for Jaein to equip the item, considering he could fetch over hundreds of millions of won by selling it on the black market. Despite possessing such an extraordinary item, Jaein no longer felt the desire to remain in the dungeons. Being over 20 years old, he was unable to continue leveling up, rendering him unable to utilize the item to its full potential. For the system being down, this was an unprecedented anomaly, an unexpected variable. However, he had grown accustomed to such variables, reaching the point of being fed up with them. For raiders, when dungeons manifest as reality, unexpected situations become commonplace. These unexpected situations can be categorized into two groups: fortune and misfortune. Meanwhile, Manhwa was approached by the party leader, inquiring about Jaein's whereabouts. Manhwa responded, explaining that Jaein might have gone to the bathroom, and proposing that they wait a little longer. However, during their conversation, Manhwa caught sight of Jaein's arrival and promptly called out to him, informing him that he needed to hurry up as the raid was about to commence soon. Jaein then offered his apologies for being late, and in response, the leader advised him against acting independently and expressed the hope that such incidents would not repeat in the future. Manhwa sensed something in Jaein's demeanor and made the decision to cheer him up. Jaein responded, assuring him that he was alright, and added that he would be treating Manhwa to drinks that night. He expressed his desire not to always be the one on the receiving end. However, Manhwa was still confused, thinking that Jaein had become insane at the age of 27. In Jaein's thoughts, he considered the fact that this place was situated within a dungeon, a lawless place where whatever happens remains confined within its boundaries. Speaking about acquiring a valuable item here would be akin to requesting death. It was not too late to sell the item once the dungeon raid was completed, as per his original plan. Thus, he needed to ensure he did not attract any unwanted attention to himself. An unexpected turn of events unfolded. While the party leader was in the midst of explaining their formations, a deafening explosion struck their party directly. Fortunately, Jaein managed to evade the impact of the attack by rolling to the side. While Jaein was in a state of confusion, trying to grasp what was happening, he observed the other raiders breathing heavily. It was at that moment he realized that the dense fog surrounding them was no ordinary fog, but rather a toxic, poisonous haze. Inhaling too much of this fog would result in his immediate demise. Jaein realized that his first priority should be to escape from that location. Manhwa approached Jaein and urgently informed him about the poisonous nature of the fog, emphasizing the need for them to evacuate the area. However, Jaein was shocked when someone suddenly stabbed Manhwa in the back with a sword. Manhwa, gasping for breath, managed to utter his final words, urging Jaein to run for his own safety. Fear filled Jaein's eyes as he started to flee, knowing that his life was in imminent danger. The sudden sound of explosions, the pervasive poison gas permeating the dungeon, and the sight of lifeless bodies strewn about. This couldn't have been the doing of mere monsters. It had to be the work of the contracted dungeon assassins, whose objective was to eliminate every member of the Meteor Guild. It was a perilous situation, as attempting to escape towards the exit would put them at risk of encountering the lurking assassin stationed near the exit and ready to take lives. Lost in his thoughts, Jaein realized that it was not the time to dwell on such matters. He had put in tremendous effort to obtain that mythical item and quietly muttered to himself that he wouldn't succumb so easily. Suddenly, a person launched an attack using a spell lightning chain, aiming directly at Jaein. To his surprise, a familiar voice spoke, affirming that he always believed Jaein would survive. With a look of astonishment on his face, Jaein turned to see that the one attacked him was a young woman, who then reminded him of their previous conversation where he had mentioned meeting Jaein. That day,